Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ashir Kirk here with the Measured Tones Institute of Quran. Before we begin, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, as-salatu was-salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. Allahumma علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا متقبلا يا أرحم الراحمين. I begin with the name of Allah and praising him, and sending prayers and blessings upon his beloved messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon his companions, and upon his noble family. And also pray to Allah to give us beneficial knowledge, or grant us beneficial knowledge, and to benefit us with that knowledge, and to increase us, to continuously increase us in knowledge. Ameen, ameen, ya Rabbil Alameen. So, in my latest post, we talked about the definition of Tajweed. I think that the first definition, which was the literal, aka linguistic definition, is pretty simple and straightforward and easy to understand. It's simply, what does the word mean, right, in the Arabic language, just in general? So it means to improve, to make better. Obviously, that's something that is very befitting of the science of Tajweed, because obviously we're trying to improve or make better our recitation of the Quran, or perfect it as much as we possibly can. So it's a very befitting definition, even in the literal sense of the word. But the one that gets a little bit more complicated is the technical definition, or the applied definition. So that one says, is basically, in a nutshell, giving each and every letter, right, with emphasis on each and every letter, it's right with regards to two things: A, the pronunciation, right, of each letter, as well as the characteristics of each letter. So each letter has either one or more characteristics, right? And I'll give you some examples of characteristics. We'll cover characteristics of letters in another video entirely by itself, multiple videos, inshallah. And then the point of articulation as well. Each letter originates from a certain point in the mouth or throat. That will also be covered in its own video, inshallah ta'ala. So, let me give you an example. What does it mean to give a letter its proper due? First, with regards to the point of articulation. So, here we have the qaf. Its point of articulation is the back of the tongue. Back of the tongue. However, a lot of people will mistakenly pronounce this like a kaf. Now, the interesting thing about this particular letter is that it also happens to come from the back of the tongue. It's just that when you say, if you just say to yourself, say pa, pa, and then say ka, ka, pa, ka. You'll notice that if you're saying it correctly, the kaf is a little higher than the qaf. Qa, qa, qa. It's a little lower, right? In that, that part of the tongue, it sits a little lower. And then when you say ka, ka, it's a bit higher, and you can feel the difference, right? So sometimes people will say, instead of saying ul, they'll say kul, right? And these mean two different things. As you can see, the little thing up here is telling you it means say. When you say kul, you're changing the meaning, and now you're saying eat. So you've mispronounced that letter, this qaf, thereby not giving it its right with regards to its proper point of articulation. Now, you might have gotten close, but it's not precise, right? Now, another example would be the ayn. You would say, and some people would say a'udhu, a'udhu, instead of a'udhu, a'udhu. And it just so happens that ayn and hamza are also from the throat, but they're from different parts of the throat, right? Unlike the qaf and the kaf, which are from the same part of the tongue, the hamza and the ayn are a part of the throat, but they're in different places. You have the closest point of the throat, right, which is the closest to the mouth, and you have right under that is the middle of the throat, and then right below that you have the furthest point in the throat, right? We'll cover that in the video, right, in its own video. So the ayn is pronounced from the middle of the throat, whereas hamza is from is from a higher point, right, which is closer to the mouth, So we have and we have right? So you're mispronouncing that ayn by saying a'udhu as opposed to a'udhu. Now those are points of articulation, right? Now what is a characteristic? The simplest example I can give you of a characteristic is light and heavy, right? So the hamza is light. It's light. So when it has a fatha on it, especially, at all times it's considered light. But when I put a fatha on it, it should make you smile automatically, right? So when I say hamza, fatha, you should say a, not a. A lot of people say this word, they say a'udhu. Qul a'udhu, a'udhu. When they should be saying qul a'udhu. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Another thing people might do is, because of the ra being preceded here, being preceded by a kasra, they will make this ra with a fatha light, when a ra with a fatha should be heavy. So that is a characteristic of the ra. When it carries a fatha, it's supposed to be heavy. So some people will say بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ بِرَبِّ, when it should be بِرَبِّ. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. That is the proper way to say it. The wrong way to say, let's say this ayah in general, is someone would say قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, right? It should be قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, right? So that is giving each and every letter its right with regards to its pronunciation as well as the characteristics of the letter. Now, how can you give each letter its right with regards to the characteristics and points of articulation if you do not learn the points of articulation as well as the characteristics of each of the letters? You can't, right? So it's absolutely essential, even though learning the makharij or the points of articulation for most people is one of the most boring parts of Tajweed. I know, trust me. But it is literally one of the most essential, because that is Tajweed. That is Tajweed. You cannot properly apply Tajweed without knowing the points of articulation or the characteristics, because then you won't be able to give each letter its right. And another thing that's emphasized is you're literally paying attention to each and every letter. Subhanallah. What other book do we do this with? We don't do this with any other book but the book of Allah. Subhanallah. Only the book of Allah do we give that much detail, right, to how we're pronouncing not every word but every letter. And it is that important, because if you notice, just by me making this kul instead of qul, I completely changed the meaning. I say eat, right? Eat. I seek refuge. What? Like, it doesn't even make sense. Qul, say. Two completely different meanings. Just by me changing the makhraj or the point of articulation, I've completely changed the whole meaning of the entire word. Okay? So that's what it means to give its right, to give each letter its right and its proper due. So let's recite the whole surah, inshallah, the way it should be recited, paying attention to each detail of each letter. Bismillah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ من الجنة والناس. صدق الله العظيم والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Don't follow the highlighting and stuff. I was kind of all over the place with the highlighting. Just read along with that, and inshallah may you all benefit. Inshallah, the next video I'll go over common mistakes of Surah Al-Fatiha. Assalamu alaikum ورحمة الله